Hi, this is Rebecca and welcome to the second video from week 5, the final week in the module of Consume and focused on fandom. So in this video we'll focus on the idea of fan consumption and particularly on how value is produced and also what we get out of consumption of this kind. So what kinds of things do we get out of consuming popular culture? Probably the most straightforward and immediate answer is entertainment. But there are many other things we get out of consuming popular culture. And if you think about what kinds of things fans get out of consuming their particular brand of popular culture or sports or whatever it might be, are those the same things? So one of the key things that we do get is the idea of consumption being linked to identification, how we identify, how we see ourselves, what we aspire to, and how we position ourselves within our culture. So consumption isn't always purely just about entertainment. It might be about knowledge. It may be positioning yourself in a certain way by presenting what kinds of films you watch, what channel you watch, what kind of music you like, that allows you to identify with a particular kind of group or a particular set of tastes. So the idea that there is a hierarchy of taste, I think, is important to come back to here. Of course, this leads to the formation of groups. Now, these are not necessarily groups that interact with each other, but nonetheless, the idea that you can form a community that could be spread across geography, particularly enabled by the internet, as we mentioned before, and that members of this group, although they may not know each other, could potentially recognize each other through physical things like t-shirts or merchandise of various kinds, or also potentially sort of linguistic markers and knowledge about a particular text. So in the Big Bang Theory example you saw in the previous clip, they're all demonstrating that they know the words to the one ring rule to rule them all, which is demonstrating that they have knowledge and thus they are fans. So by doing this, a sort of an insider-outsider dynamic is created, and we'll watch a clip in a moment that will illustrate how these sorts of insider-outsider dynamics can be established. So I want you to go to the playlist, which should be up here, and go to the, let me scroll this down, to the Comiccon episode 4 clip and watch that and think about what the trailer says about fan cultures, how these are seen as being of benefit to the individuals, and also how sort of these ideas of belonging are signified. And then post your ideas about this in the comments below. You can do it at the end of watching or do it now. Okay. So we're back again. My question to you is, what might you consider yourself a fan of? It could be popular culture, it could be something else. And consequently, what kinds of fan-related products do you own? I realized when I came down here, quite by coincidence, that I had my, and it's sort of decapitated at the moment, but my Yoda USB stick that obviously it's in the computer now, so it looks kind of awful. But I didn't mean that to go. I mentioned in the last video that I love Jim Henson and the Muppets, and I would consider myself a fan of them, though I've never, going back to that idea of how to define, I've never written anything about it or really communicated with anyone about it in any kind of serious way. So in some definitions, that would not be considered fandom, but nonetheless, I have purchased some things that do reference or come from that product line, and thus I have marked myself in some ways in terms of that. When I pull out the Yoda stick, though people would see it more as Star Wars, I guess, people see it and identify, and then we have something in common that we can potentially communicate about. So I want you to now watch this clip. It's a segment from the movie called Fanboys, which is about some Star Wars fans, and it's something that creates a very clear hierarchy between two different fandoms, both of sci-fi, in terms of taste and what is to be considered of higher status than the other one. It also presents ideas about consumption, the role consumption plays in constructing the self. So in this clip, you see people demonstrating knowledge about the subject of their fandom, as well as wearing clothes and so forth, that clearly delineate that this is an important part of their identity, to consume, to be fans, and also to consume the text, i.e. the knowledge about the show or the movies, but also to consume the products associated with the text, the uniforms and so forth. So why don't you go and watch this one and then tell me what kind of consumption this represents. So, of course, when we're talking about consumption, we're not just talking about direct merchandise of the product. We're also talking about cases where the object of fandom might endorse particular products and thus lend their popularity to something. So you'll see on this slide some celebrity endorsements of various products. And if we really think about it, celebrities themselves, and you'll explore this more next semester if you go on to communication and culture, celebrities themselves are consumer products. They may be people, but their public image, they've been turned into a brand, and thus associating that brand with another brand can lead to increased sales and so forth. Some examples is, I don't know if you've seen the George Clooney Nespresso ads, but he gets I think 5 million a year for that, and Nicole Kidman is the next biggest one with 4 million a year for Dior. Is it Dior or Chanel? It's one of those two. And that is just the idea that fans or people who respect and like those celebrities or see them as representing something, so see Clooney as being sort of suave and cool, that he lends that to the particular brand. Of course, digital age is a big part of this as well. Twitter sites are part of promoting consumption and also promoting individual products. So you at one point, Kim Kardashian was commanding $30,000 per tweet that she did about a product. So you can see that, that a fandom there is working. So the next clip I want you to look at is this clip that looks at the most expensive items at Comiccon. It's from 2013, but they're pretty similar sorts of things. And for those of you who are not familiar with Comic-Con, you can go and look it up, but essentially it's a convention of originally comics, but at this point all sorts of popular culture and lots of film previews and TV merchandise and all sorts of things are sold and launched there. So I'd like you to comment on this video in the comment section below, talking about how is value established for these products. What makes the products that she notes valuable? Are there particular characteristics? The idea of collecting as fan practice. So I'd be interested to hear if any of you sort of have collections of the little pop vinyls maybe, or something like that, or just thinking about what collectors, what pleasures, what joys you can get out of collecting and drawing here on your reading, as well as the idea of how you might leverage fans as a market. So you could comment on those things below. Great to talk to you again. I will be back with another 2 videos and speak to you soon. Speak to you in the workshop. Bye.